Hey, so the strangest thing happened to me the other day. I was hanging out in the Slack channel of a savvy tech-ish community that I belong to, and I saw advertised an opening for storytelling PR. Given that PR is like my middle name and storytelling is one of my passions, my fingers instinctively clicked through. Now, what awaited me on the other side of my curiosity could not have surprised me more. Under my eyes, a glossy black background appeared, gold Times New Roman headers, and the unmistakable flatness of AI-generated copy answering a rather lousy prompt. Now, in a rather frenzied fashion, I found myself clicking around the website, trying to understand what actual gold was hiding on the page, because after all, storytelling PR was telling me there's something good to talk about here. Eventually, I zigzagged my way to a simplistic three-portal design, like three doors, which revealed some kind of choose-your-own-adventure experience for people to explore their purpose. Or something to that effect. It's hard for me to elaborate because I left my thumb and index finger hit the Command W, which was basically as if I'd slammed the door shut on my way out. If you don't know, if you hit Command W, it closes a tab. So what was so bad? Well, every piece of text screamed default ChatGPT or Claude or, But what had me flee the scene was a combination of hollow words multiplied by bad design. Think bad juju. It's bad energy. It felt almost as if I had landed Martian-like onto an empty planet. No sign of life there. Bots had been around, though. Now, if it wasn't for me, the storytelling PR lover with a very explicit propensity towards self-development, then who was this built for? I'm not sure. But moments later, I paused to consider the implications and felt my face beginning to tense up. So I rubbed my temples just as I realized that someone was going to take a job spinning stories about that silly platform that offered an even sillier AI-generated self-discovery program. No amount of PR or storytelling talent could make it a success. Now, no wonder some people think that PR and communication is hot air. Anything can be hot air if we choose to put out work that has no substance. What's that I hear? Anne, it's hard to put work out there. Do people even care? Ask yourself the question. Yes, we care. Sorry, that came from my soul. It wanted to be heard. Now I know it's hard. We live with this endless tension between I want words and designs that express me, my brand, my objectives, and also it's hard. But anything worth making will bring friction, and with it, difficulty and frustration. I too have shouted at my screen last week after writing, drafting scope of work emails, designing my own social posts, etc., etc. I've paced up and down my apartment, groaning, trying to release the bubbling anger after realizing that graphic designers were failing to understand the brief we'd been working on. I sat on the floor of my living room, devastated after calling it quits with my last design appointment, because me and that person basically had completely different understandings of what the word designer actually means. But then the last appointment I made for a creative was awash with ease and joy. So what do you know? Now, AI promises to remove all that. But what I see is that on the other side, when the metaphorical blood, sweat, and tears are gone, what is left is an empty shell. Think snail, no more life in there. Now, isn't it funny? Not haha, but isn't it funny how we can feel effort, intention, even behind simple 2D frames? Meanwhile, our struggle builds creative grit. That's also where breakthroughs come from. Ideas, products, writings, podcasts, art, you name it, right? When something you're making comes hard, what do you make it mean? That you're not good enough? Or that it matters? Now, I think that the point of design is the process. The caring is the point. Which means that AI-generated design isn't just aesthetically flat. It's also philosophically wrong. It skips the thing that makes the design mean something. Now, this leads me to wonder, how do we express substance online? Now, counterintuitively, not everything needs to be online. Don't build or move in online unless you have the means to invest in quality, whether in design or in copy. It's not and never has been one over the other. The investment could be time or money or both. Building online has always been a tough translation exercise to take what is textured or subtle or specific in real life and to make it feel right on a screen. Actually, it's not unlike what I wrote about the other day about the 3D self and the flat pack self. This calls back to a time when I was still working for Christian Louboutin, heading communications. Back then, the brand website ticked the boxes for a functional e-commerce platform, but it was devoid of the brand's actual personality, the mix of camp, grit, and outrageous creativity that has otherwise been synonymous with our designer. A survey of clients confirmed this. The women polled said that they didn't recognize the brand on the site. No sign of him, basically, which in itself was the problem, because back then you could feel his touch in every store and most aspects of the brand, of course, on the shoes. This wasn't a hard read, though it escaped many people in the upper echelons of the business. Because Christian's extraordinary taste in architecture and design and art, his whimsy, his love of sourcing random materials from his travels, like bespoke lighting fixtures made of agate slices. Oh yes, there's a story there. The hand-picked patchwork-covered furniture, the Indian crafted wall coverings and other eclectic interior elements that unmistakably said, he was here. This didn't just come from nowhere. No wonder he's designing and opening hotels now, right? Now, many websites say, sorry, our creative was never here or never interested in being here. In essence, it's a way of saying they don't care about this. Head over to big brand websites. I went to check out Cartier.com the other day and tell me what you see. What I see is a digital platform designed for conversion over experience, which does feel like an empty shell or a simplified shelf, where you put products. Simplified when you compare it to the experiences in the retail stores. Now, it's hard for small brands. It's hard for independents. It's hard for big brands. It's that 3D versus flat pack problem, but made digital. How can we make it better? I hear you ask. Well, in truth, unless we experience what good or bad design is like, it's unlikely that our online homes, those essential calling cards, will ever feel like the three-dimensional counterparts. As I was editing this essay, I remembered a quote from a movie. I had the second half of the quote, and AI helped me fish it out in full. It's from the film The American President, written by Aaron Sorkin. And there's an exchange between Louis Rothschild, played by Michael J. Fox, and President Andrew Shepard, played by Michael Douglas. And Louis says, they're so thirsty for it, they'll crawl through the desert towards a mirage. And then when they discover there's no water, they'll drink the sand. And President Shepard responds, people don't drink the sand because they're thirsty. They'll drink the sand because they don't know the difference. What I'm arguing here is this. We drink sand, bad design, because we don't know the difference. For better design to emerge, we all need exposure to a wider, more eclectic range in general. I'm arguing for all of us to build a better taste register. We need to learn to feel the difference. Look outside industry, look outside competitors to learn and react to good or bad design. Look to artists, see what they do. Let ourselves feel the joy of creativity, bold choices, or the puzzled feeling of quirky. All we need is to spend a few minutes every other day or every week indulging in following our curiosity, learning to notice how sensorially charged a good digital design can be. I personally feel tickled when I see certain font choices or functionalities. I felt distraught not long ago when I realized I'd lost a short list, very short list, maybe 5 websites I'd come across, which I loved. Inspiration for a future development mood board. Like a house, a website is a home for what you or your brand stands for. And in essence, it is an expression of your values. And I say this here, but I think you know this already. That distinction matters. The day I looked at the website I mentioned at the top, my reaction expressed the misalignment between the intention of storytelling PR I had read about and the reality of AI-generated design. And what I was experiencing wasn't just bad aesthetics. It was a breach of something. Aesthetics as ethics, you could say. Now, the quality of the container matters as much as the content. How something is delivered is part of what is being said. You cannot separate the two. My favorite example this year was a short-term expression of the Hermès homepage for their deliberate use of hand-drawn illustration, the addition of friction and discovery. Hermès made this choice despite their resources and because of their commitment to their values. They understand that in a moment where everything is racing toward AI smooth and frictionless, texture is the differentiator, craft is the signal, and proof of life lies in the details. Now, this brings me back to proof of life, because that's what I'm looking for when I encounter someone's work. It's not, was AI involved? I use AI as well. It's more, how present was the human in this project? Can I feel someone thinking, choosing, caring, and occasionally, like I do, getting it wrong? It's okay to get it wrong. Failure is part of the process of creating. Now, AI is brilliant when directed by smart and caring humans. The problem isn't with the tool, it's the absence of intention. The plastic sheen when you want the depth of lacquer. Now, the promise of AI is to remove friction, to make things smooth and easy. But it may be that we're creating an empty world, because if it requires no effort, is it worth doing? What if the fact that this is hard isn't a sign that we're doing it wrong, but it's a sign that it's worth doing? I see how many of my clients, my friends, my audience exist at the opposite end of this frictionless experience. Our values mirror each other. Not only are they full of substance, purpose-led, heart-led, pursuing projects that they genuinely believe in, but they also want to be inspired by others who are putting effort and care into what they do. At times, they struggle with finding the right words, the right design experience, or the right consultants, service providers. They struggle, like most of us do, caught between the inner vision and the outer expression, between the full shape of the complexity of what they care about and the language, design or otherwise, available to express it. Now, that gap between substance and expression, between who you are and how you come across, it's exactly where I work. I delight when I see people bring the texture of who they are into the work they put out into the world. Deep, differentiating, crafted, authentic, memorable, and uniquely yours. Now, we all have a choice every single day about what we put out and how we put it out. And I'm not above anyone when I say that it can feel hard. The pressure to produce is real. The pressure of presence, the quality of presence is real. But if you're going for depth, and if you're going for substance, if you want your work to carry the quality of attention you actually have, I work as a midwife to your expression, helping bring what's already in you, out into the world. 3-dimensional, alive. You know where to find me. Until next time, thank you for listening.